In yesterday's tutorial, we learned how to stake tokens. We took Solana and we took Ethereum as an example. We staked Ethereum on Lido and we converted it into staked ETH on Lido, which is basically stETH. And this is where you can basically see the balance. If I open my wallet, I already see it available here. So liquid staked Ethereum, stETH, I already have the balance in my wallet. Now that I know that I already have my liquid staking token, this tutorial is to teach you what you can do with a liquid staking token, an LST. There are many different strategies to use or many different possibilities to use your staked tokens into DeFi. You can swap them on a decentralized exchange. You can deposit them as a collateral on a lending and borrowing platform and borrow against them. You can stake them again in what is known as restaking, and you can deploy them into liquidity pools in order for you to earn fees. All of these strategies are available for liquid staking tokens. Let's take stETH, our staked Ethereum token, and see how we can deploy it into the different strategies that I just laid out. Now, before we dive into the strategies, there is one very important concept that you need to understand, and that is wrapping. What is wrapping and why do we need to wrap liquid staking tokens and certain tokens as well, not specifically liquid staking tokens, in order for us to be able to use them in DeFi? Wrapping is simply converting one token into a different version of itself. It's simply wrapping a token so it behaves a certain way that fits how DeFi protocols basically function. stETH is a rebasing token, meaning your balance increases automatically every day as staking rewards accrue. Most DeFi protocols, like lending protocols, liquidity pools, restaking platforms, they are not built to handle a token whose balance keeps changing on its own. So Lido came up with a solution, and that is wrapped stETH, which is called wstETH. We're going to be seeing in a live example how to do that. They wrapped the version of stETH so it can be used in DeFi protocols. So Lido created wrapped ETH, wstETH, a wrapped version where your balance stays fixed and the rewards accrue into the token's price instead. It has the same underlying value, just a structure that DeFi can actually plug into. So pretty simple. If you hold stETH, the reward that you're getting from staking it, which is 2.6%, this staking reward that you're getting, you are getting it in the form of additional tokens if you're holding stETH. Meaning, let's say you stake one Ethereum into one stETH. With time, if you open your wallet, you're gonna start seeing the staking reward accrue to your wallet in the form of additional stETH tokens. So the balance of stETH keeps on going higher. This structure does not fit DeFi protocols because if you are staking stETH that is accruing additional tokens every single day and the quantity of your tokens are changing, this does not allow the DeFi protocol to function. So you need a wrapped version of the stETH whereby this wrapped version accrues value or the staking reward accrues value directly into the value of the token itself. Meaning, instead of having more wrapped stETH, the value of the wrapped stETH reflects the staking rewards instead of the quantity increasing. The best way for me to explain this in reality is to show you the actual charts of these three tokens: Ethereum, stETH, which is staked Ethereum, and wrapped stETH. So if I open the chart of Ethereum on CoinMarketCap, this is it, as you can clearly see. If I open stETH, you can see that it is the exact same, almost the exact same as Ethereum. This is it. You can clearly see that the price barely changes, and it is logical because stETH is supposed to be pegged one to Ethereum, and when the staking rewards that you are accruing are basically being accrued in the form of additional tokens directly into your wallet on a daily basis. However, if I switch to wrapped stETH, you can clearly see that the value changed. It's no longer the same. Why? Because the wrapped version, the staking rewards accrues directly into the value of the wrapped version. So here, wrapped Ethereum is currently sitting at 2,846 as of the time of shooting, while the stETH is at 2,307, meaning wrapped stETH is accruing staking rewards directly in the value of the token, and this allows it to be used in DeFi protocols. And that's why wrapping is necessary and needed. And some tokens and protocols basically use wrapping in order for them to allow their tokens to be used in decentralized finance. Now, one important thing as well that I would like to close this point on is that with every layer that you add, you're increasing risk. Meaning, if you hold Ethereum in your wallet, it's the least risky. When you stake it and turn it into stETH, you add a layer of risk because now you have a token, a derivative token, which is stETH that mimics and is pegged directly to Ethereum. But there is more code embedded in stETH, making it more risky. When you add a wrapper on top of it, you added another layer of risk as well. So keep always in mind that a wrapped version of a token presents a higher risk than holding the native token itself. The same applies for all tokens, be it BTC or Solana or SUI, you name it. If wrapped Bitcoin is more risky than Bitcoin itself, wrapped Solana is more risky than Solana itself. Before I also explain the rest of the strategies, keep in mind one thing, that this strategy that I'm explaining for stETH applies for all liquid staking tokens. So let's continue. Right now, you understand what wrapped Ethereum is, or wrapped stETH is. So let's proceed and wrap our stETH so we can start using it across DeFi. So in order for you to wrap stETH, you can do so directly on Lido platform. So you navigate to wrap, and then you put the amount. So in this case, this is the total amount that I have. I unlock tokens and wrap. So this is the transaction. I make sure that I read everything here. This is the network, correct. Request from stakelido.fi, interacting with stETH. The network fee $0.04, and it takes around 12 seconds. Approve, fine. Here, one thing that's important, spending cap. Ensure that you are putting the quantity exactly as per what you are basically wrapping, because some wallets default to putting the maximum spending cap possible. And if you are authorizing the platform or the protocol or the smart contract to withdraw all your ETH in your wallet, then this can represent a vulnerability down the road. So what you should do is that if you are right now converting 0.007 stETH into wrapped ETH, ensure that the spending cap is exactly as per the amount you want to switch and not more than that. Then I click on confirm, and our transaction is complete. So in a bit, I should start seeing here the wrapped stETH in my wallet. And actually, there is another transaction because the first one was unlocking the token. The second one is actually wrapping it. So again, I read everything. Okay, confirm. So I'm sending 0.007 stETH and I'm receiving 0.00567 wrapped stETH. The reason behind that is because obviously the value between wrapped Ethereum and staked Ethereum is different because of what I just explained a few minutes ago. And here we go. You can clearly see that the wrapped stETH is right now available in my wallet and ready to be deployed across DeFi. So let's go back to the strategies that we have. The first one is basically swapping your token. So you go to any decentralized exchange that functions on Ethereum. In this example, we're going to go to Uniswap, and let's say I would like to swap my wrapped ETH or wrapped stETH into Ethereum. You can and I want to exit my position, but I don't want to exit it using the same way I got in. So I don't want to unstake or change from wrapped Ethereum to stETH, then unstake stETH into Ethereum and wait all this time in order for me to be able to and wait for the unbonding period for me to be able to get back my Ethereum. Instead, I would like to exit my position immediately. So you can do so. You can go to Uniswap, choose wrapped as Ethereum, and then swap to Ethereum, and then basically you put all the amount that you currently have in your wallet. So let's connect the wallet. Connected. Okay, here we go. You can now see the total amount available in my wallet, and I can simply review and then swap and exit my wrap position into native Ethereum, or I can also sell it into stable coins. I don't have to stick only to Ethereum. So this is basically how you can trade your LST, your liquid staking tokens, and exiting your LST immediately via trading and swapping. Next, we look at how you can use your STEs or your liquid staking tokens as collateral to borrow against them. The best example would be on Aave, of course. So let's say you are directly on Aave. You connect your wallet first. Okay, done, connected. My wallet is right now connected. So the next thing I should do is look for the token which is wrapped stETH in this scenario in order for me to deposit it on Aave and then borrow against it. So I navigate to markets, and then here I can write wrapped stETH. And also one thing, if I type stETH, you won't be able to see any stETH because of the reason that I just mentioned before. It needs to be wrapped in order for you to be able to use it across DeFi. So here you go. You can easily find wrapped ETH. I click on it. I'm not gonna go through in details on the dashboard and the information that you see here, because this is related to lending and borrowing, which is a tutorial that I'm gonna be creating for future lessons. It's outside of the scope of this lesson. Right now we're focusing on how you can use liquid staking tokens in DeFi. So basically, you can supply wrapped stETH into Aave, but you can clearly see that when you deposit this token, you're basically allowing Aave, or you're putting your wrapped staked Ethereum for lending. So I'm gonna have to supply my wrapped staked Ethereum in order for me to use it as a collateral. So I click on supply and I put the maximum amount, in this case 0.0056. So in this case, I can use 79% loan to value ratio or 93% loan to value. Obviously, it's better to use the lower loan to value ratio because the crypto market is very volatile. So if you're increasing your loan to value ratio to a maximum and there is price volatility and the price crashes down, you either need to immediately add collateral or repay your loan, otherwise you get liquidated. So always choose the lower loan to value. In this case, we're gonna use the 79%. Approve stETH. Spending cap, as you can clearly see here, is in line with what we want. And then I confirm. Supply stETH. Collateralization is enabled for this specific asset, so I can use it as collateral to borrow against it. And then I confirm. And right now, in a bit, I will have my wrap staked Ethereum available as collateral on Aave, where I can basically use it to borrow against it. So one strategy could be for me to deploy this. I borrow USDC against it, stable coins. I take these stable coins and I go buy Ethereum again, and I repeat the same loop. I take this Ethereum and stake it on Lido. I take stETH, I wrap stETH, I deposit on Aave as collateral. I borrow against it, and I keep doing the exact same loop until I max out all the loan to value ratio that I'm allowed. This is how I use leverage in order for me to expand my exposure to a specific asset, especially if I expect this asset to go up in price. But keep in mind that if you do this, you're taking the maximum amount of risk that is possible. And that in this scenario, there is a very high risk that you get liquidated in the event of a price volatility to the downside, because you are maxed out when it comes to loan to value ratio, just like what I explained a few moments ago. So here we go. Right now, I have my wrapped Ethereum staked on Aave, or supplied on Aave as collateral, and I can use it to borrow against it. And you can clearly see that I already have the AWSTETH, which is Aave's version of wrapped staked Ethereum supplied on the Aave protocol itself. So this is how you can basically use your wrapped or your liquid staking token as collateral to borrow against it. Next strategy would be to see how you can deploy your liquid staking tokens into a liquidity pool. And again, I'm not going to go through the mechanics of how you can do that because this is a video, a tutorial video for another, for the next lesson and not for this one. But I'm just going to show you how you can basically use your liquid staking tokens in a liquidity pool. So I'm going to be showing you two examples where you can do so. Let's say you are on Uniswap, you navigate to pools, and then here you can search for a specific pool. Let's say on Uniswap, you have pools for stETH and you have pools for wrapped stETH. So in this case, in Uniswap specifically, you do not need to wrap your stETH in order for you to use it in a specific liquidity pool. Let's say we go to wrapped stETH. Let's see what are the available options that we have. So this is the token on Uniswap itself. If you scroll down, you have pools here, and this is the available pool where you can basically deploy your liquid staking token in order for you to basically put your assets to work. So this is the list of pools that are available. You have on which version of the protocol the pool is deployed, because there are multiple versions. The fee tier, the total value locked inside of that pool. Obviously, the higher the total value locked, the more liquid the pool is and less risky it is. So for example, if you want to deploy capital in wrapped stETH USDC pool, there is only $87,000 inside of this pool. The liquidity is extremely thin. Therefore, there is immense amount of risk if you deploy your capital into this specific pool. And you have the pool APR, which is basically the yield and the return that you would get. It depends on how much activity and the volume there is on this pool and how much fees is being collected from traders and investors that are using this pool to swap their assets. So for example, the biggest pool here, which is wrapped stETH ETH, currently offers 0.63% yearly return or annual return. One thing I would like to highlight here, that this is relatively a good pool to deposit your tokens if you want to put your assets to work, because wrapped stETH and ETH almost have the same value, or at least they go up in the same, they go up and down almost simultaneously if you want. There is a high correlation because obviously wrapped stETH is a derivative of Ethereum itself. And the best that you can do, the best pool, for example, that you can deploy in would be stETH ETH instead of wrapped stETH. So let's look at that pool and why it's the best thing to basically deploy your liquid staking tokens in a pool such as stETH and Ethereum, because stETH and Ethereum are pegged one to one. They are equivalent to a stable coin. So when you deploy your liquidity into or your liquid staking token into such a pool, you do not have impermanent loss. Again, I'm going to be going through more details into liquidity pools in a future video and not this one, so we don't make this one too long. And in order for you to deploy your liquid staking token into the pool, you click on the pool itself and you click on add liquidity. You choose the pairs stETH and ETH in this example, and then you choose your fee tier. Again, I will be explaining this in the future tutorial about providing liquidity, not in this one. And then finally, you click on continue and you go through the steps, you sign all the transactions, and then you deploy your liquid staking tokens into a pool for you to earn rewards. And then the final strategy on how you can basically use your liquid staking tokens would be restaking. So again, I'm not going to go into the details of how you do restaking because this is a tutorial for another video, another lesson, not this lesson. This lesson covers only liquid staking tokens and how you can use them. But basically, you can use your stETH and stake it again. But this means if you use a liquid staking token and you stake it again, this is effectively restaking, which we covered earlier in the lesson. So here you go into Eigenlayer, which is a restaking protocol on Ethereum. You search for your token. In this case, it's stETH. Here you go, you find it, and then you go through the process in order for you to basically restake it. And when you go through this, you basically add another layer of security. You get more yield, more reward, of course, but there is another layer of security with it. But obviously, this is a strategy that you have available. It is an extremely risky strategy. I personally would not touch it whatsoever because, as I said earlier, the more layers you add, the more wrapper you add, the more layers you add, the more staking layers you add, the more the risk or the higher the risk, basically. Now, keep in mind that the strategies that I showed you here are but a fraction of what is available. Obviously, this is applicable for all tokens that have liquid staking tokens available. And for example, like Solana, like Sui, these tokens already have liquid staking protocols where you basically stake your main token and you get a liquid staking token. You can use that liquid staking token across multiple different strategies, from providing liquidity into many pools. What I just explained is just one to two example, but there are many pools that are available out there. And if you want to do something like this, you're going to have to do your research into which pool you want to deploy, which strategy you want to use, and the risks that are associated with each pool and strategy as well. And then finally, the usual checklist, which is ensure that the URL you are using is the authentic one, is the verified one, in order to avoid any phishing scams. Never stake more than you can afford to have locked. Set a calendar reminder to regularly check your staked tokens and unbonding period, especially if you are using liquid staking tokens in multiple different strategies. Regularly check on these positions, check that everything is okay, check that you're accruing the rewards and the rewards are coming back to you in your wallet directly. Do not just set it and forget it, especially when you're using multiple different strategies and multiple different layers for the same token. And obviously, when you need to choose a validator or an operator in the case of restaking, make sure that you do your research on that specific validator and operator before you delegate your tokens with them.